What if I told you that it was way easier to be creative if you kind of just do this one thing? Well, let me talk a little bit about some neuroscience and see if you believe me. So if you take a look at the top right corner, there's Van Gogh's Starry Night. It's an absolutely beautiful painting. You kind of take it in as a whole. You're kind of thinking globally. You're looking at the entire thing. You're admiring its features. But if you zoom in on just the town, and you kind of look at that singular brush stroke that makes that tower, that's actually local thinking. So that's very specific, detail-oriented versus kind of this global, holistic idea. Now, global thinking is actually correlated more with creativity, bottom right, whereas local thinking is correlated more with specific details, like almost science-based. So I kind of developed a study to see if this type of thinking crosses senses. So if you look at the shapes below the Starry Nights pictures, you'll see that the rhombuses are either spaced close together, forming a parallelogram, or far apart, forming a larger parallelogram. The shapes that are spaced close together actually prime participants globally. So they're more inclined to look at the entire painting, whereas the shapes that are far apart are more inclined to prime participants locally. And so they're more inclined to look at details. And so what I did is I developed some visual images that match these shapes that people touch. And so the visual images either match the local shapes, which are the rhombuses, or they match the global shape, which is the larger parallelogram. And so which people were more inclined to see? Were they more inclined to see the parallelogram, or were they more inclined to see the rhombuses? And it turns out I actually made my visual images appear prior to when participants actually felt the shapes. And so unbeknownst to me, I accidentally primed my participants with the visual images instead. So the visual images were placed on the top and bottom of the screen, and this primed participants only globally. So they were actually only predetermined to look at the larger Starry Night. So what does that actually mean for us as daily people? Well, if you take some time out of your day to kind of look at the big picture of what's in front of you, take in everything, not just a singular person, not just a singular detail, but everything in front of you, you'll be more inclined to see globally, which will enhance your creativity. And so you can actually do this with touch, you can do this with hearing, you can do this with any sense. So if you touch a whole shape, like a water bottle, versus a bunch of M&Ms, you'll be more inclined to see globally if you touch the water bottle. Versus the M&Ms, you'll be more inclined for details. So overall, you can just enhance your creativity by taking some time to look at the big picture.